What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the garage, and I just made it in time. I literally got on the computer a minute and a half ago, and I had like 16 programs that had to update, and it was like, oh no, we're not gonna make it by 8. Ah! But we made it. What's everybody up to? It's so quiet in here. Doesn't look like the chat window is working. Ugh, it's always something. It's always something. None of my widgets are working. Oh well. Let's see here. What's going on? Why is this a thing? Why does YouTube hate me? Who knows? Probably just going to have to remove all these stupid widgets, put them back in. Ugh, gross. Ah, there. Scuba Sam showed up for some reason. There we go. Ha 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 ha. Okay, all the widgets are working now. Nothing is ever easy. I had to log in, apparently. That'll learn me. That's what happens whenever I'm watching TV up until 7:58. Having to come upstairs real quick. What up? We got somebody from Hawaii in here. Let's see. Who we got? We got Jerry, as usual. Andrew, good to see you. Dan. What's everybody using for in-tank pump? Gym 46NA. Hoping to be around 500. Something in the 300 to 400 range should be fine with, and make it 325. Tommy Spencer says Deesh works 300. Ted KABT, what up, Super Slow? Brandon Crocker, Melinda Chase, Keone, Ryan, Super Slow again. I said Super Slow twice. Subtract one of those. There's Scuba Sam, Thomas, ICT Car Guy, Surfer Jag, Rock Roll, Schmidhead, Wilson's in Alaska, Jay Thompson in Ohio. There's Bigfoot and Rich. Jose, what's going on, brother? Steven and Chris. Keone, it's only 2. And it's so weird because just a couple hours behind you is like where it starts becoming Friday. I mean, it's Friday for Andrew, right? Friday morning for Andrew up in there. Gotcha, Trailer Plus. Booger. Bogger 11B. Boogers, is that 2 O's? So Bogger 11B. Glad to hear it, man. That's what they're here for. Yes, Marin, I still have to get the 50K stuff out. You guys should not be surprised that it's taken me a while to get all that stuff together. That's pretty normal. That's pretty normal. Oh, you know what? Let's talk about, I got some news. Some really cool news. You guys ever heard of High Performance Academy? Anybody heard of them? Anybody heard of High Performance Academy? HPA. That's the wrong screen. Where do we go to get? That's the wrong screen too. All the screens are wrong. Yep, that's the Kiwi blokes. Yes. I believe they're Kiwis, not Australians. Hi, Mom. So, we are officially an affiliate of High Performance Academy now. So I got to talk to all the guys from New Zealand. And let me see here. Let me just do it this way. I can make this easy. I can just pop this up over here and we go bow, 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 to screen. Boom. HPAcademy.com. Keep your eyes peeled. We will have a member code or a discount code coming out very soon that'll save you guys a little bit on their courses. And I'll be reviewing some of their courses. In fact, I'm in the middle of the diesel tuning course just to learn new stuff. And it's really been blowing my mind. There's some really good stuff on there. I really like those guys. You guys have heard me talk about them in the past, specifically on the live shows. about how much I like those guys. If I were to actually go out and spend money on any kind of extracurricular activity, kind of learning materials, that would be the one that I would go with. And the more in-depth that I get into their courses, the more excited I am to be partnered up with those guys as an affiliate, and them being willing to basically, give you guys an outlet that if you're interested in some of their classes, that you can get a discount on some of that stuff. They've got an awesome money back guarantee and great forms, things like that. So I will, there will be more to come on that. This is just an early thing. I talked to him earlier this week. And in fact, I've been talking to him since before Rocky Mountain Race Week, and we really just hadn't got a chance to sit down and really go over the stuff. So I got to talk to Andre himself. Very sharp people, very good content, because they talk about the fundamentals of what's actually happening before they get into the tuning stuff, which really helps click all the gears together, makes everything make sense. And that's the way that I like to do it, because, the more you understand what's going on, the easier the process is. No, I am not by any means quitting the tuning business. I'm still going to be doing tuning videos just like I've always done, but anytime that I see an opportunity where there might be some more in-depth content that can elaborate on something I'm doing, I'm going to make sure and throw a link over there. And if you guys are subscribed or not, or wanting to check it out, you'll have a way of doing it and save a little money in the same time. Hey, Trailer Plus, go over to the website, goatropegarage.com, and throw them on the Tune repository. You can upload them there. That way, if anybody wants to get access to them, they can get them there. I don't know how long they'll stay up there, but you can try. I know it's a little bit hard to get that software from VX Diag sometimes. Yeah, I'm not surprised it came with the CD and the CD was blank. So, oi, Jonathan Blunt, injector stuck open, flood cylinder 7, snapped a rod on my Gen 4. How was the cylinder walls, Jonathan? Did it survive? Steelers 743 says the car price inflation is hurting my car buying addiction. I was on eBay Motors today with Justin. We were looking at some of the ridiculous costs that people were asking for cars. I was looking for Chevy Berettas. There was only like 2 of them for sale in all the United States, and they were astronomically high. How crazy is it that I can't buy a cheap Chevy Beretta? I mean, come on, people. Oh, Mr. Schmidhead brings up a good point. What do you think about California starting to test for ECU tunes during smog tests? Let's be honest. If anybody was going to do it, it was California. I'm sorry if you live in California. Your life has just gotten worse, and I would not be surprised to see this roll out to more states that have EPA emissions required, OBD2 emissions testing, things like that. I don't know how they're going to be able to do that quite yet. So, I'll be interested to see what the report is. Yeah, that is crazy. Wouldn't be surprised if New York did it also. Yes, Mom, I wish I still had my old Chevy Beretta. But that's the nice thing about the world we live in. There's always another Chevy Beretta around the corner. I just have to find it. Listen, Rich, if I had half of the cars that I used to have, I would have over probably $250,000 to $300,000 worth of cars that I only spent $60,000 purchasing. So I've gotten rid of a lot of cars, and I didn't lose money, but they're worth a lot more now than they were whenever I got rid of them. Have you ran into the new Chryslers having the computers locked? And Matt, what is happening? That's actually a security module that they put in those. And you're having to, and that works with scanning them also. You can read standard OBD2 parameters. You can read standard OBD2 parameters that are broadcast on there, but you can't do any communication to any of the ECMs through the security module. You can bypass that with a 810 connector, I think is what they call it. I don't know how well it works, but you can't write anything without having access. You have to buy the access. At least Chrysler is observing right to repair, so anybody can register to do it. So it's not a whole lot different than the way GM does with AC Delco Tech Connect, We still have to pay 40 or 50 bucks or whatever it is for a VIN number. Yep, my Beretta had the 3.1 in it. What needs to be done when you tie two oxygen sensors together for bank 1 and bank 2? When you tie two together, why would you tie two together for bank 1? Are you saying to take one and connect it to bank 1 and bank 2? The only problem with that DMC Bigfoot is if your car is modified and you have one with a stock tune, how is the thing going to run? Yes, all the Dodge ECMs from like 2016 on have to be sent in to be unlocked. What up, Jim White? Now that it needs to be bored, it's an Iron Block 5.3. Send it to a shop, I'm guessing, bore it and stroke it to 383. I don't know, man. I would see what the price would be on that. You might be able to just snag a 6-liter out of the junkyard for cheaper. DOD VVT delete. I swear that you fired it first try idled. Just the fuel was crazy. Money for fuel for the idle. It was crazy surprise. That's awesome. Super slow. In fact, I got a custom tune I'm doing right now, and the guy had all kinds of mods on there. Never been started. He sent me the first startup log. That thing fired up and idled right at 800, and I was like, I'm not even this good. I must just be lucky. Oh, snap. Ryan McElhenney coming in with a Canadian $100 nitrous purge. Thank you for the $5. I'm just kidding, Ryan. Let's see. He said, can't thank you enough for what you do, man. Just finished Miles of Mayhem here in Canada and managed to take third in the 750 class. Holy crap. Is that 750 in the eighth or 750 in the quarter? Hopefully in the eighth. Not been able to do it without you. Have my old 40 pickup putting in work. Videos on my channels if you want to check it out. Ryan, go ahead, copy and paste the link in, and I'll approve it so people can go over to your channel and check it out. Thank you again for the big donation. Chris is over here installing a Walbro fuel pump. Well, DMC Bigfoot, you know, you're onto something. There is a way that you could possibly slave one in on the CAN bus. I just don't know how the rest of the modules would work out. I wouldn't mind digging in and possibly doing something like that, but I'd be afraid that the EPA would be knocking on my door. Rich Point, I think you're on the right path. I think what we're going to see, he said, honestly, CAN is probably the future with an external overriding tuning module without having to actually crack the ECM. I think you're right. I think what we're going to see is basically a module that gets all of its readings on the CAN bus, as you say, and then is plugged into the injectors and the coils, and basically triggers the injectors and the coils, because as far as the ECU is concerned, those are dummy outputs. Those are happening anyway, so you can disconnect those. And it's basically the same thing that I did on the North Star, where the North Star ECM was still in there whenever the Terminator was in there. Oh, Trailer Press, I was saying that we are an affiliate of High Performance Academy now, and I will have more information very soon, including a discount code that will get you, save you a little money on courses, or if you want to subscribe. Would you would want to make an adjustment in the O2 sensors calibration, make up for the resistance introduced in the connecting process? Correct, possibly. I don't know. That's something that would have to be looked into, Jerry, on running two outputs from one sensor. What anybody want to suggest for rockers? Thinking about pulling the trigger on a BTR TK002. I put Scorpions on the big block this go around. Rokon says there's an 89 Beretta Billings, Montana for 1K, 128,000 miles. Is it rusted out, though? Installing a Walbro fuel pump on my 3rd gen. Do I have to mess with anything in the fuel system? It's under 20 PSI boost. No, you shouldn't have to mess with anything on the fuel system on that. Wonder who is testing the container ship's emission system that pull into U.S. port of entry. ICT car guy, you bring up a very interesting situation. Okay, Ryan McElhenney says that was McElhenney, sorry. That was in the 8th mile. I was about to say, if you're running close to 750 in the quarter mile, man, remind me not to line up with you. ICT car guy, it says somebody said the recent forest fires out there put out more pollutants into the air than all the vehicles in California in a year. Well, the problem, DMC Bigfoot, is going to be that the fact that if that thing is just hooked up on a separate circuit like that, it's going to have all kinds of DTCs because it's not going to talk to a bunch of different modules. Bingo, Andrew, like a piggyback. There you go. Anthony Thomas says he's running a piggyback on his 2020 Forte GT. John Lasertech, can I still send you a tune? Send it through the Patreon. If you're not a minute, or not a member, join up on the $25 tier, and that gives you access to sending tunes. TJ, I am not sponsored by HEP Academy. We are an affiliate, so... I mean, technically it's kind of a sponsorship, but basically it's just me helping to share some of their stuff. And so I'm going to be doing some more deep dives into it. As I said, I've been doing their diesel tuning course. Very interesting stuff. I'm not even to the tuning section. I've just gone through like an hour worth of how diesel motors work, how the injection system work, how all the start of injection and end of injection timing works. You know, there's some really interesting stuff in there. So Anthony says stock was 15 at 95. Piggyback only, map 3, not the most aggressive. 30% ethanol, made a 1375 at 102. So that is quite impressive. 1.5 seconds. JB4 is plugged into OBD2. Interesting. E38 ECU using a Corvette regulator. Can you make a video regarding what fuel settings would need to be changed to get it from returnless to return style? There's a lot of settings. So if you're going over to a return style, honestly, there's not a lot that you need to change as long as it has a fuel pressure sensor somewhere in the system. If it doesn't, E38s, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head whether or not they monitor fuel pressure anywhere. As long as there's a fuel pressure sensor in the system to maintain that fuel pressure flow map, the differential from the rail to the intake manifold, does not matter. Doesn't really care if it's returnless or return style. Basically, if you're going out of a returnless system, you're getting away from PWM control on the pump and you're going to straight pressure on the pump. It just needs to see pressure. I'm never going to do diesel tuning, Marin, but it's very interesting to learn about the process of diesel tuning because I just like absorbing new information. I'm good to hear that, John, because I'm normally very bad with names. Listen, check on there, and there should be some links on there. If you're in the $25 tier, you should have gotten an email for one. And if you didn't get the email, check some of the posts that are specific to that tier. There will be the email address in one of those. You can send me a message on Patreon, but I'm going to give you a warning. I'm very bad about checking messages on Patreon. JB4 also controls the water methanol system. That's interesting. Who makes the JB4? Burger Motorsports. I'll have to look them up. Have not heard about them. Need some help with the Gen 3 GM tuning a 2000 Yukon with electronic throttle body. Would like to get some better response. Any tips or tricks? I mean, you've got the electronic throttle control underneath airflow, and there is a demand table on there that relates pedal to throttle body. Basically, you can ramp it up. Just make sure that you don't get too aggressive or else you'll get runaway throttle. That's all I want to tell you. As Jay Thompson says, if there is not a fuel pressure on the E38, just flatline the pressure or the flow rate based on the pressure straight across. So find out what the flow rate is at that set pressure. Set it to, even if you know it's just like 50 pounds at 58 PSI, set your regulator to 58 PSI if it's a rising rate regulator, and then flatline your fuel flow rate to whatever that is. No, Anthony, I appreciate you showing up and sharing your experience, man. Always love to hear new things. Awesome, Chris. Glad to hear it, brother. I love to hear those stories. TJ's all about it. TJ sent me a picture the other day. He's got 77 credits to his HP Tuner catalog now because of all of the tuning he's been doing for people in his area. Super awesome. There's none on the T38. I'm working on one right now, which is on the one that I want to send. I cannot get to launch save my butt. Yep, send it over, man. Send it over. And John, for some reason, if you can't find it, just let me know. Shoot me an email to the info at Goat Rope Garage saying who you are, and I will get you the proper email. Because obviously that email is just for the people in there, or else I would give it out. But if I gave it out now, I would have too many people that aren't patrons email me. Do you have any experience with the SCT Advantage? No, Fareed, sorry, I have no experience with SCT whatsoever. I've reached out to them a few times to even talk about possibly getting access to their tuning software, and those guys just will not have anything to do with it. So, I tried to help another guy that had a dyno that was doing tuning in his shop get access to SCT software, and they would not even give him access to it because he didn't meet some weird criteria that they have. So, I basically just said, okay, don't need to deal with SCT. Brandon, glad to hear it, man. Got the C5 tune. Still want to circle back? Well, I am here for circling back. Oh, Joe Simpson, you're so funny. You're so funny. He says, you ever use one of those low-dollar temp pressure sensors? Did you look at my oil pressure on the last log I sent you? Crank is back to the engine shop. Hopefully the TBSS will be back together in a couple weeks. Fingers crossed for your brother. See, Keone has SCT3 Advanced 3 somehow. Really? Fareed, that's very interesting. Maybe I need to hit him up again. Last time I hit him up, it was very hard to get them to even be happy. Another question to start nitrous tuning. How much timing is too much? About to tune a nitrous Yukon with 150 shot of nitrous. Every 50 horsepower of nitrous, you want to take 2 degrees out. That's the rule of thumb. Did the pressure side not work for you? Car from today, temp side worked, but pressure side would do crap. Yeah, correct, Joe. That's exactly the problem that I had. Temps, I've not had any issues with those sensors. The pressure ones, I've replaced multiple of them. Now, granted, 2 of them were the ones that would read into negative. So it was like negative 14 PSI up to, negative 14.7 up to positive 14.7. So 100 kPa up to 1 bar or whatever. 2 of those died. That was the first issues that I had on it. And then I've got 2 pressure sensors, one on the fuel and one on the oil. And both of those have died. I've replaced the fuel pressure. I still haven't replaced the oil pressure because I've got a good old electric gauge with a separate sender for the pressure, so I can at least see the pressure on the gauge. Gonna beat the snot out of it. Ah, there you go. Got it from the third-party dealer. That's why. Yeah, I can believe that. Getting it through the third-party dealer makes sense. Talking to them directly is just pretty much pointless, I've found. I have to send you a tune file because I'm very unsure about the injector scheme in both sources pressure table. Listen, Jonathan, that is just a constant in the fuel map. You can tune through that. It's not a big ordeal. 79 now. Oh, picked up another 2 credits. Yeah, if those tables don't exist on the Gen 3 file, don't worry about them. Leave them as they are. As I said, they're all constants at the end of the day. It's your airflow that's the variable. 793 1/8, soft leave on 20s, and boost was only like 8 PSI. Well, you definitely got some more room in there with that all-wheel drive setup. Normal to see a few degrees on knock under heavy load, such as doing a 4th gear pull starting at low RPMs. That's where you're going to see it, Boger. If you're going to see knock anywhere, generally it's going to be under heavy load or a wide open throttle whenever cylinder pressures get high. So, yes. It's not normal. You might have a little bit too much timing in that area. You got to look at your table because it'll be a kind of a wonky area if you're in low RPMs in 4th gear. So you might have to lower the timing a little bit in there. But that is generally not an area that you're going to be driving in. because we're not normally lugging, you know, you're lugging the motor, and whenever you do that, you're going to get some extra knock in there. Fareed, I will look into it. I will. I know, I know. I just said earlier, you didn't have two O's in there, so you're not Booger. But you got to realize, Boger, there's a lot of times I mispronounce everybody's name on here. Ask Mark H., whose name is actually Mike. Jose, aren't you a patron? How goes it with the Smoke Monster? Plan on running it down the strip soon. Okay, yes, the Smoke Monster is now running. I got the radiator mount done on Tuesday. What else did I have to do? Got the serpentine belt set up. I hooked the stereo back up so I can drive with the radio on. Tuning. I mean, I'm just dialing in the tuning. The thing's running good, and very much so to the point where a lot of the stuff that, you know, obviously that we were having issues with, we sorted out. We've got all the voltage and amperage that we need now. We got the valve train sorted out. It's making the power. It's not falling over on its face. Exactly. Jose, you ordered a custom tune, didn't you? Well, I had to go over to Serpentine setup. Jose, I emailed you and it got rejected for some reason. So shoot me another email at the info at Goat Rope Garage. I did email you and it rejected back saying it couldn't be delivered for some reason. But yeah, I was thinking about trying to take the Nova out tomorrow night, but honestly, Keystone is kind of like a terrible place to go racing at. Yeah, sorry about that, Jose, because there's really, like, if the email fails, I really don't have a way of getting a hold of you guys. Maybe I should start requiring a phone number or something on custom tunes. So, but said, email me again tomorrow, and if for some reason my email gets rejected to you, I'll send it from my personal email just so we can get you started. Okay, man? I probably should have done that already now that I think of it, but it's the first time that's ever happened, so. Having a weird issue when trying to tune VE. When I disable the map, the truck goes like 20% rich at part throttle cruise. When I disable the map, the truck goes like 20% rich. I mean, are you just rich in that area, Lathan? Yeah, sorry about that, Jose. We'll get you sorted out, man. One way or the other. What are we drinking tonight? Caution Slippy by East End Brewing Company out of Pittsburgh. It is a New England double IPA. Mom says, come home to race. Tulsa is awesome. Tulsa is awesome. And at this point in time, I'd even take Noble over Keystone because at least you can get some passes in at Noble, even though you can't see anything. But it's 20 hours away. It's a little bit far. I'm super excited because Corey, the guy that I did Rocky Mountain Race Week with, is moving down to Knoxville. And so there's a couple tracks between us that are like a 3 to 4 hour drive for both of us. So like some of them are a 4 hour drive and 3 hour drive for him, and some of them are a 4 hour drive, 3 hour drive for me. And so we're looking forward to next season having a lot of weekends where we go and meet up and do some racing. Look at some of his cars that he's building out. Nova suspension is done. DMC Bigfoot, what did you do on the front? What did you do with on the front end? Well, I mean, how aggressive is the cam, Lathan? Because, I mean, if it's a super aggressive cam, you're going to lose some airflow efficiency at cruise. If it's designed to make power on the top side, friend has 04 Silverado 5.3 installed BTR 224 230 553 5233 109 plus 0. Got the idle good, running out of injector on the top end. Isn't every stoplight a track? Not in this state, man, because, I mean, unless you live your life 60 foot at a time, there's too many curves right around the corner. The axis labels from my map frequency table don't match up with the frequency labels of the LS3 base file. Would this mean I need to flash my Silverado ECM to a Camaro file to get those frequency labels? No, Jonathan, try and edit them. You can probably edit the MAF frequency tables if you right click on the column headers and see if you can edit. Some you can, depending on which ECM that you are on. Cole, what have you got going on? Still, oh, yeah, make sure you try to install. Oh, you got to do it on 7. Yeah, it won't work on Windows 10, Cole. You can get and you can't even run that in the compatibility mode. I think you've got to run a Windows 7 virtual machine. It's a pain in the butt on a Windows 10 machine. A few weeks, I want you to help me tune my truck. What is the correct process to start? Scott, MAF. Start with MAF. If you got the MAF, stick with it. Yeah, just change the labels. You can try it in compatibility, but you also want to run as administrator. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't work on Windows 10. 32-bit it may work, 64-bit it may not. If you're copying with labels, Jonathan, it will. It'll try and paste those, and then you can interpolate the spots that it skips out on. Or you could go into the LS3 file and change the labels on the LS3 files to match the one on your truck, and then copy the table over. No raffles tonight, Montana. I've got too many things to get out there. French Onion, technically you have missed the live. We just ran late. Yeah, it is 8:32. Normally I shut it down, but there's been so many great conversations and questions tonight. Just been happy rocking with it. Anybody ever use LS1 knock sensors on an LS2 with an LS1 PCM? As long as the PCM is the same, it should be fine. Because the LS1 PCM is going to expect the knock sensors to be on that part of the motor instead of the valley fuzzy moto. That's the big thing, because based on where they're located on the motor, it might change the frequency, and we really don't have, on some, we might be able to adjust the frequency, like what I'm doing with my fingers there. But yeah, I mean, you should be fine as long as you mount them where they're mounted, where the LS1 is, because it is a calculation based on bore. Yes, HB Tuners wants another 2 crest. Flash my Silverado PCM to a Camaro file. Is that normal? Yep. I don't know that I would flash a Camaro Silverado to a Camaro file, though. So, Bigfoot, what tubular upper and lower control arms did you put on the front end? No, Windows 7 hasn't been supported in a while. Why is it DA is harder to make horsepower with a 6-liter versus a 6.2? Head's that much different? I honestly do not know, Jay Thompson. E38 Turbo Silverado logs as lean when it shifts. That's a new one on me. Normally, if anything, I'd think it would log rich. Is there a way to test an IAC valve? I'm maxed out on cold start, but go to 0 after warm out. Nicholas, pull it out. Stick it in a bag to make sure. If it's wired up backwards, you want to have it in a bag, because if it's wired up backwards, it'll shoot the pintle out. Put it in a Ziploc bag. Key on, engine off, and watch the pintle move out. It should go all the way out and then go back to whatever your base setting is, your park setting, basically. Should be around 40 counts is what I believe, or 50 counts. I don't know. Could look at your tune and see what it is. But test it. You should see it go out, all the way out. Or is it all the way in? Somebody help me out. All the way in? It's all the way in. It should go all the way in, then out to the setting. If it goes all the way out, then it's wired backwards. If it doesn't do anything, it's probably bad. So you did the QA1. Okay. Dirt floor, we will let it slide this time, brother. It's good to see you, though. Yes, Jerry says, I've read about many ECMs becoming paperweight by cross-loading files like that. Honestly, if you're wanting to do a file transfer like that, you should probably use a Tech 2 or a MPVI, whatever the heck they're called, not an MPVI, MDI, and write an actual OS file to it from AC Delco. You have any open slots for just a tuning overview before first start? Yeah, Jonathan, you can do that on the $25 tier at the Patreon and send me that file and I'll go over it and send me all the details and make sure everything looks good. Might be out of injectors, but some of the cells look good. 90% usage. You're right on the edge, Mr. Den. Right on the edge. Where's DZ? There's DZ. Hey, guys. Everybody shows up late. We might as well just go ahead and rock for a couple more minutes here. Jeff Stanley is rocking Dino Day. Blue Cat on stock L86. D1SC with a 438. D1SC with a 438. How much you making with that setup, Jeff? 10 PSI or so? TJ, you got to sign up for the whatever, the $2 a month YouTube membership. Basically, all it gets is your name in green and the logo by your name. The wrench are the moderators. 9 PSI. L86, 9 PSI. I mean, we talking at the wheels? I'm doing some head math here. Probably around 625 at the wheels. Sweet, Bigfoot. I've been looking into, I need to do front tubular control arms on my Nova. That's kind of the last thing. Yeah, Jerry, your name's green. Mastered in, you should always do a crank relearn whenever you put a new cam in. Is there room for negotiation for $2 a month? I don't even think it's $2 a month. I think it's $1.99 a month. French and onion. All I need is you and Richard Holder. I need to call Richard, see what he's been up to, get him back on the channel. It's been a while. If a popcorn tune is possible on a Chrysler 300C with a 3.6 liter. I mean, it's possible on anything as long as you don't have cats. It's got to turn off diesel fuel cutoff and retard that timing. Everybody had success tuning a 5.3 with Summit Racing single plane manifold cam on a fuel injection setup. Chris, that is very specific. But should be able to tune anything. Any setup should be tunable. Jonathan, it is in the scanner. HP Tuners credits do not expire, Trailer Plus. They are locked to your device. If for some reason your device dies, you can call them, buy a new device, and they will transfer them over to the new device. They may have you send in your old device to verify that you have that device. But there is a process. Yeah, I know, Bigfoot. They are very pricey for the set. But I mean, I just got to quit being cheap because I've got QA1 double adjustables on the rear, QA1 single adjustables on the front, and I just need to go ahead and get the QA1s on the front. And beforehand, I was worried about putting them on there because I know they drop the car a little bit, but now that I have the coilovers on the front, I can at least sort that out. So that's the next and possibly one of the last things on the Nova mods list, short of nitrous. I mean, I think we got to put nitrous on at some point in time. Well, an inch would be perfect because the thing is pretty low on the coilovers right now. And I would like to drop the front down at least half an inch. And so that's only a quarter of an inch of actual stroke on the coilover setup with that front, geometry. So, because the front's a little bit raked up. Well, I've got a connection on that bottle juice stuff, and so I think that they would love to play with the Nova and possibly, we got to see what it does on motor first, but we're going to put that thing into the high 8s regardless. Have to put a 300 shot on it, we'll do it. VX Diag versus MPVI2 versus an MPVI2. Well, I mean, you can flash factory tunes with the VX Diag. That's about the only difference. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more difference, but that's what you can do on that you can't. Yeah, Joe, I don't know that the rings are gapped quite well enough for a 500 shot. But I'd like to get the front end a little bit under control better. She's a little floaty on the front end whenever you get over 100 in it. And that's probably has something to do with those stock tubular control arms. Austin N. ordered a remote tune from a reputable tuner, but noticed he left COT enabled, but increased the enable temp super high. He said leaving COT disabled could keep the stall from locking fully. That's interesting. I would have to test that out, Austin. Would have to test that out. I normally just disable it. Because honestly, whenever you're tuning, doesn't really matter if the stall is locked up or not. It just changes the load. But as long as you're filling in the data on your load table, specifically volumetric efficiency, we don't care if the stall is locked up or not, Do you prefer to tune meth based on injector, MAF, or map sensor? Or is it dependent on the type of tune? I tune meth as additional fuel. And so I go in and do MAF and map sensor both. Or, MAF and VE table. Because essentially what you're going to see is an enrichment whenever meth is spraying. Methanol, I should say. How much gap is required on the rings for nitrous? A little bit more than NA, but a lot less than boost. Because you got to remember, nitrous is cooling down cylinder pressure, so you're less likely to get the rings to butt up. Jay Thompson says, my QA1s could never control the car, had to upgrade. I don't have any control issues. The front end just gets floaty over 100 miles an hour. Could also be because the front end is too high in the air, but would you upgrade to, Jay Thompson? Need different injectors. Since I can't trust these anymore, what you would recommend for a decent injector for an LS6 round no boost? I would go with anything that is OEM that you can fit in your setup. If not, I mean, I'm running Snake Eater performance injectors right now, and I'm not too disappointed with them. But injectors are one of those things. Don't cheap out on them. OE is never a bad way to go if you can get the flow rate that you need from an OE injector. Just make sure that it is an actual OE injector, not a Chinese knockoff. A 2000 Camaro 3.8. I had one of those back in the day. All parameters look good, but when I smash the throttle down, it cuts out for a second, then kicks in. Any ideas? Brutal. That sounds brutal. Your volumetric efficiency table needs tuned because it handles your transient fueling. If you get it wrong enough, the rings gap themselves. Not so much the rings as the ring grooves might gap themselves. What's a good wideband for the price? The AEM 30-0300 is my default go-to, even though somebody buy AEM or some crap like that. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. Maffless tune is very popular in Australia with the Holden Gen 3 mostly. What's the big benefit from that? That is going to be due to the fact that you have a limited mass airflow range on the Gen 3s. You run out of frequency on those, and so it's just easier to do speed density. That is pretty much solved in the 4th and 5th gen, where everybody loves to run MAF only tunes. Volumetric efficiency is the best way to tune if you had to choose between the two. Mass airflow is way easier, way quicker, and makes tuners lazy. I'll say it right now. If you're a mass airflow only tuner, you're lazy and you are screwing your customers over. Bro, don't get me started on that, Cole. Yeah, you're going to need a scan tool if you have an ABS system like that so you can do the ABS bleed pulse. Don't need a lot of gap, as I said, on a 300 shot, because the nice thing about it is you're at least injecting something cold in. Snake Eater, 98 pounds per hour. That's a bit big. Holly did what? I don't know what you're talking about, Joe. You're probably talking about something I talked about and I wasn't even paying attention. Oh, yes. Holly did buy AEM. Yes, correct. The Holly fanboy is in here to remind us that they bought AEM. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe. See you, Bigfoot. Have a good one. Yeah, really. That's what I said whenever I heard Holly bought them. Listen. I know for the last 2 months I've been throwing a lot of shade Holly's way, but I'm done doing that now because my car is finally running. And a lot of that was not Holly's fault. There was a few times that I really would have wished that I would have had even the AEM Infinity that was on the small block on there, or possibly a Mega Squirt, or a Max ECU, or a few other things, a Fuel Tech, Haul Tech, Motec, you name it, anything besides a Holly. But I can't really blame that on Holly. It's a way to make a 6L80 shift consistently at part throttle. I mean, it depends. If you're looking for a specific shift point on part throttle, Nicholas, there's a lot of tables in there for adjusting shift points based off of RPM and speed. It's what you're considering consistent, because those are the two things that are controlling you. You're either at a RPM at a certain throttle or a speed at a certain throttle. And as the throttle is further open, it's going to shift the RPM and speed further up down the table. Now you're talking about shift fill. That's just something completely different. Shift fill is completely different from consistency. Pressures, man. Play with the base pressures. Sometimes shifts are buttery smooth. Sometimes shifts are harsh. Look at your shift tables. Make sure, set them back to stock and see if it smooths everything out. It might feel a little bit sluggish, but try it. And as always, you can use Blue Cat's tool as a starter. Yeah, well, stock was worse, but it was probably more consistent. At least it was always squishy, right? Okay, it is 8:50. I'm starting to sweat because it gets hot in this office. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. I want to say we had a great crowd tonight. Everybody had a lot of great information. Appreciate everybody showing up. Yes, Chris, there is a way to download all of the knowledge in my brain is to watch all of my videos and subscribe and watch them again. I'm just kidding, man. So I want to thank everybody for showing up. I will see you guys next Thursday. Same garage time, same garage place. I'm going to have some more stuff coming out here soon. Some very interesting stuff. I don't know. It'll be interesting to me. It'll probably be interesting to the 62 people in here, and that's about it. And that's perfectly fine, because you 62 people are the primary people that I focus on making the content for, because you're showing up and you're asking the questions. You've got good questions, and you're applying this knowledge. Also, keep your eyes peeled for the tuning or HP Academy stuff. I almost said the tuning school. God, I would never, ever partner with those guys. Listen, if you've ever thought about buying anything from the tuning school, just stop right now and either put your money back in your wallet or send it to me or light it on fire. So those are your only 3 options. But yeah, HP Academy, super excited to dig into more of their stuff, talk about more of their stuff. And yeah, it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. Really excited. Big shout out. Sorry, Jerry. Big shout out to those guys. And honestly, if you haven't subscribed to their YouTube already, go over to High Performance Academy and subscribe to their YouTube, because they've got great free videos on YouTube that are very informational. Informative is the word that I was looking for. They've got very informative videos out there, and then like it gives you an insight as to what their courses are. If you watch one of their 3, 4, 5 minute long videos, imagine that. But it's like 2 hours long, and it's so in-depth, and I love it. You got to be very hungry for knowledge. Listen, if you're the kind of guy or girl that likes to go out there and just wants to see people say, copy this into that, and don't explain to you why, it's probably not for you. But if you want to know why you're doing it, the effects of doing it, and see practical applications of it, check out HP Academy, man. Those guys are great. Exactly. As Andrew said, they also do their own free live Gen 4 tuning sessions. Yeah, they've got a lot of cool stuff going on there. So I've been very excited to share some more stuff, you know. And you know, honestly, yeah, I make a little money off of it. I do. But you know me well enough that if I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't pander it to you. If you know how many people that I turn down every week with their BS, I don't care about it. Nobody cares about it. I'm not going to sell your battery charger or your headlights or whatever the heck it is. No, that serves no purpose in this community where we are here to learn about tuning. And if we can progress tuning knowledge within the group, we're going to do it. So, okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. You guys know the drill. Thanks for stopping by the garage. Remember, ABT, always be tuning.